Princess Zarathel stood on the crystal balcony of her father's palace, watching another ship fly away into the dark space above. The silver vessel grew smaller and smaller until it became just another dot of light among the stars. She counted in her head. That was the 200th suitor to leave without asking for her hand in marriage. The princess wrapped her blue arms around herself. The night air was cold, but not as cold as the feeling in her heart. 23 years old, and still no one wanted to marry her. In the great galaxy with its 847 different worlds, she was known by a name that hurt to hear, the Cursed Princess. Zarathel was not cursed by magic or evil spells. Her curse was much worse than that. She could feel what people really thought and wanted. When someone told lies, she knew. When someone planned to hurt others, she felt their dark thoughts like sharp knives in her mind. This gift or curse made it impossible for her to ignore the truth about the aliens who came to ask for her hand. Every suitor who visited their world wanted something other than love. The tall, strong Cathani warriors wanted to use marriage to take over her father's empire. The rich Zephyrian traders wanted access to her people's rare crystals and metals. The strange, rock-like architects wanted to study her people's bodies for their experiments. Each time a new suitor arrived with gifts and pretty words, Zarathel felt their real thoughts. None of them cared about her as a person. She was just a way to get what they really wanted. The worst part was that everyone expected her to choose one of them anyway. The Galactic Marriage Protocol was an old law that said royal children must marry someone from a different species. This was supposed to keep peace between all the different worlds. If royal families were connected by marriage, they would not fight wars against each other. But what happened when no one wanted to marry you for the right reasons? Zarathel heard footsteps behind her. She did not need to turn around to know it was her father, Emperor Vextan. She could feel his worry and sadness like a heavy blanket. "My daughter," he said in his deep voice, "you cannot stay out here all night again." "Why not?" she asked, still looking at the stars. "There is nothing waiting for me inside except more meetings about my failure to find a husband." Her father came to stand beside her. He was a tall man with dark blue skin like hers, but his face showed the lines and scars of many years of ruling. "You have not failed. The fault lies with those who cannot see your true worth." Zarathel finally turned to look at him. "But what happens to our people if I never marry?" "The hegemony grows stronger every day. They see an unmarried princess as a sign that our empire is weak. How long before they decide to attack us?" Emperor Vextan was quiet for a long moment. "The Royal Council has been talking," he said slowly. "Some of them think we should remove you from the line of succession. They want to make your younger brother the heir instead." The words hit Zarathel like a physical blow. Her brother was only 15 years old and had no training in leadership. But he was male, and he did not have her strange ability to sense people's true feelings. "Is that what you want too?" she asked. "Never," her father said firmly. "You are my eldest child and the rightful heir. You have the wisdom and strength to rule our people, but I also cannot let our empire fall into war because of politics and old laws." They stood together in silence, both looking up at the vast darkness above them. Somewhere out there were hundreds of different worlds, each with their own people and customs and needs. The idea that peace between all these worlds depended on royal marriages seemed both important and completely ridiculous at the same time. "There is one more request," her father said after a while. "One more species has asked to send a suitor." Zarathel felt tired just thinking about it. "Which one? The poisonous Nexari? The war-loving Brutans? Someone even worse?" "Actually, they are called humans. They come from a small world in what the charts call the Sol system. Most people in the galaxy have barely heard of them." This was strange. Usually, only the most powerful and wealthy species sent suitors to royal families. Why would an unknown species take such a risk? "What do they want?" "I do not know," her father admitted. "Their message was very simple. They asked for permission to send a representative to meet you. They offered no gifts, made no promises, and asked for nothing in return." Zarathel thought about this. Every other suitor had sent long messages listing their achievements, their wealth, their military power, and what they could offer her father's empire. A simple request to meet was very unusual. "When will they arrive?" "Tomorrow, if you agree to see them." Zarathel looked at her father's worried face. She knew he was thinking about their people's safety. The hegemony had been sending more and more ships to patrol near their borders. Everyone could feel that war was coming. Maybe this strange species would be different. Maybe their representative would not fill her mind with thoughts of conquest and greed. But she had hoped for that with all the others too, and each time she had been disappointed. "What do we know about these humans?" she asked. "Very little. They only achieved faster than light travel about 50 years ago. Their technology seems basic compared to most species. They have no great empire, no vast armies, no rare resources that anyone wants. Intelligence reports say they come from a world with many different groups of their own species, and somehow they learned to live together in peace." "They stopped fighting among themselves?" "According to the reports, yes. It took them a long time, and they still have disagreements, but they no longer have wars between their different groups. This was actually very unusual. Most species in the galaxy still had conflicts within their own people. The fact that humans had managed to unite their entire world was impressive, even if they were not very powerful compared to other civilizations." "I will see them," Zarathel decided. "What is the worst that could happen? I sense their greed and lies like all the others, and they leave. At least it will be over quickly since they probably have very little to offer." Her father nodded, but she could feel that he was not entirely convinced this was a good idea. "I will send word that we accept their request." As they walked back inside the palace together, Zarathel tried not to think about what would happen if this human representative was like all the others. She was running out of options, and so was her father. The Royal Council was getting more impatient every day. Some of them had even suggested that she should just pick any suitor and ignore what her abilities told her about their true intentions. But how could she marry someone when she knew they planned to hurt her people? How could she bring danger into her father's empire just to follow an old law? The palace hallways were quiet as they walked. Most of the servants and guards were asleep. Only a few lights glowed to show them the way. Zarathel had walked these halls thousands of times, but tonight they felt different. Tomorrow would bring another test, another chance for disappointment. She stopped at the door to her rooms. "Father, what if this human is different? What if they actually care about something other than power and wealth?" Emperor Vextan looked at his daughter with sad eyes. "Then, my dear child, it would be the first miracle our family has seen in many years." Zarathel went into her room and closed the door behind her. She walked to her window and looked out at the stars again. Somewhere out there, a human was traveling toward their world. In less than one day, she would know if her curse would finally be broken, or if she would have to accept that no one in the entire galaxy would ever want to marry her for love. She tried to imagine what this human would look like, what they would say, what they would want from her. But for the first time in years, she could not guess what would happen next. Maybe that was a good sign, or maybe it just meant that disappointment was coming from a direction she had never expected before. Captain Marcus Chen guided his small ship toward the massive space station that orbited the Vextai homeworld. His vessel looked tiny compared to the beautiful alien ships around it. Where other suitors had arrived in huge fleets with dozens of escort ships, Marcus traveled alone in what looked like a simple cargo hauler. The space traffic controller's voice crackled through his radio. The alien spoke in perfect English, though Marcus could hear surprise in their tone. "Human vessel, you are cleared to dock at Port 7. Please state the purpose of your visit." Captain Marcus Chen of the Terran Diplomatic Corps, requesting permission to meet with Princess Zarathel as arranged. Marcus replied. There was a pause. "Understood, human. Dock at Port 7 and wait for escort." Marcus smiled as he brought his ship in to land. He had heard the same surprised tone from every alien he had spoken to during his journey here. Most of the galaxy seemed shocked that humans even knew about the princess, let alone wanted to send a representative to meet her. The truth was, Earth's government had been following the situation with great interest, not because they wanted political power or resources, but because they felt sorry for someone who seemed to be in an impossible situation. The reports they had received painted a picture of a young woman trapped by circumstances beyond her control. That was exactly the kind of problem humans felt they should try to help solve. As Marcus walked through the docking bay, he noticed how the alien workers stopped their tasks to stare at him. He supposed he did look strange to them. Humans were shorter than most species, with pale skin instead of the blues, greens, and grays that seemed more common in the galaxy. His brown hair and eyes were probably unusual, too. 2 tall guards in elaborate armor met him at the exit from the docking bay. They looked like they were trying not to laugh. "You are the human representative?" one of them asked. "I am Captain Marcus Chen, yes. Where is the rest of your delegation?" "There is no delegation. Just me," The guards looked at each other. Where are your gifts for the Emperor? Your treasure chests? Your military advisors? I brought some items from Earth to share, but nothing that could be called treasure, Marcus said. And I am not a military officer. I work in diplomacy. The guards clearly did not know what to make of this. Every other suitor had arrived with huge amounts of wealth, weapons, and advisors. Marcus carried only a small bag with some books, music recordings, and food samples from Earth. They walked through hallways that were clearly designed to impress visitors. The walls were made of some kind of crystal that caught and reflected light in beautiful patterns. Expensive artwork from dozens of different worlds decorated every surface. Everything about the palace spoke of wealth and power. The Emperor will see you first, one guard explained. Then if he approves, you may meet the princess. I understand. They entered a massive throne room where Emperor Vextan sat on a chair made from a single enormous gem. The ruler of the Vextai Empire was an impressive figure, tall and strong with dark blue skin and eyes that missed nothing. Around him stood advisors and court officials, all watching Marcus with expressions that ranged from curiosity to amusement. Marcus walked forward and gave a respectful bow. On Earth, he had studied the proper customs for greeting Vexatai royalty. So, Emperor Vexatan said in a voice that echoed through the chamber, "You are the human who thinks he might be worthy of my daughter. Your Majesty, I am here to meet Princess Zarathel and learn if we might be compatible." I make no assumptions about worthiness. This caused murmurs among the court officials. Most suitors spent their first meeting listing their achievements and explaining why they deserved to marry into the royal family. "Tell me about your species," the Emperor commanded. "What makes you think you have anything to offer that the Cathani warriors, the Zephyrian traders, or the architects could not provide?" Marcus had prepared for this question. "Your Majesty, we do not offer military might, vast wealth, or advanced technology. What we offer is something different. We offer partnership based on respect and understanding." Explain. On Earth, we learned that our strength comes not from conquest or domination, but from cooperation. We discovered that different groups working together could achieve more than any single group working alone. We believe that marriage should be a partnership where both people support each other and grow stronger together. The court officials looked confused. One of them, a thin alien with green skin, spoke up. "But what do you gain from such an arrangement? What resources do you seek? What territory do you wish to acquire?" "We seek friendship between our peoples," Marcus said simply. "We hope that by showing respect for Princess Zarathel and your empire, we might build a relationship that benefits everyone." Emperor Vextan leaned forward in his throne. "You speak of respect, but you come with no gifts, no fleet, no demonstration of power. How do we know you are not simply too weak to offer anything of real value? Your Majesty, we believe that the most valuable things cannot be bought or taken by force. Trust, loyalty, love, understanding are ours. These must be freely given by people who choose to share them." The throne room fell silent. Marcus could see that many of the aliens present were struggling to understand what he meant. The idea that someone would seek a royal marriage without wanting political gain seemed impossible to them. "You may meet my daughter," Emperor Vextan said finally. "But know this, human she has refused every suitor who has come before you. Many of them were far more powerful than your entire species." "I understand, Your Majesty. I only ask for the chance to speak with her." The guards led Marcus through more crystal hallways to a beautiful garden inside the palace. Plants from many different worlds grew together in carefully designed patterns. In the center of the garden, sitting on a simple stone bench, was Princess Zarathel. Marcus had seen pictures of her in the diplomatic files, but meeting her in person was different. She was beautiful, but there was also a sadness in her eyes that the pictures had not captured. Her blue skin seemed to glow softly in the garden light, and her long dark hair moved gently in the breeze. She looked up as he approached, and Marcus felt something strange happen. For just a moment her eyes went wide, as if she was surprised by something. "Princess Zarathel," Marcus said, giving another respectful bow. "I am Captain Marcus Chen. Thank you for agreeing to meet with me." "Please sit," she said, gesturing to the bench beside her. Her voice was soft but strong. "I must ask you something immediately. Is it true that you came here alone with no gifts or demands?" "It is true. Why?" The question seemed to burst out of her as if she could not hold it back. "Every other suitor has wanted something from my father's empire. Territory, resources, Military alliance for conquest. What do you really want? Marcus thought carefully about his answer. I want to get to know you. Not Princess Zarathel, the political symbol, but you as a person. What you think about, what you care about, what makes you happy or sad. Zarathel stared at him for a long moment. That is not a political answer. I am not here for politics, then why are you here? Because the reports we received about your situation made it sound like you were trapped by circumstances you did not choose. My people have a saying, no one should have to face their problems alone. I came to see if there was a way we could help. For the first time since Marcus had arrived, Princess Zarathel smiled. It was small and uncertain, but it was real. Help, she repeated as if the word was foreign to her. When was the last time someone offered to help me instead of asking what they could gain from me? They sat together in the garden for the rest of the afternoon. Marcus told her about HFY, about humans who had learned to resolve conflicts through talking instead of fighting, about the different cultures that had come together to explore space, about the idea that differences between people made them stronger rather than weaker. Zarathel found herself talking more than she had in years. She told Marcus about her ability to sense people's true intentions, about the loneliness of knowing that everyone who approached her wanted something other than her friendship, about the pressure she felt to choose a husband, even though all her choices seemed wrong. As the day ended, Marcus prepared to return to his ship. May I visit again tomorrow? He asked. Yes, Zarathel said immediately. Then more quietly, please do. As Marcus walked away, Princess Zarathel sat alone in the garden thinking about something that had never happened before. For the entire afternoon, her empathic abilities had detected no lies, no hidden agenda, no desire for power or wealth. Instead, she had sensed something that seemed impossible, genuine interest in her as a person. For the first time in years, she was looking forward to tomorrow. Marcus returned to the palace gardens every day for a week. Each afternoon, he and Princess Zarathel walked among the alien plants and talked about everything except marriage and politics. They discussed books, music, the beauty of different worlds, and their hopes for the future. For Zarathel, these conversations were like drinking cool water after years in a desert. Marcus asked about her thoughts and feelings, not her royal duties. He listened when she spoke, really listened, instead of waiting for his turn to make demands. When she told him about her empathic abilities, he did not see them as a curse or something to fear. Instead, he seemed to think they were a gift that would help her understand people better. On Earth, Marcus said, as they sat by a fountain shaped like a spiral galaxy, we have learned that the people who can sense emotions and understand others are often our best leaders. They know when someone is lying, yes, but more importantly, they know when someone is in pain and needs help. Most people see my abilities as a problem, Zarathel replied. They say it makes me too picky, too difficult to please. Maybe the problem is not that you sense too much, but that too many people have things to hide. This simple statement hit Zarathel like a revelation. She had spent years thinking something was wrong with her because she could not ignore people's hidden motives. But what if the problem was with the people who had hidden motives in the first place? On the 8th day, Marcus asked the question that Zarathel had been both hoping for and dreading. Princess, I would like to formally request your hand in marriage. Zarathel felt her heart start beating faster. Tell me your terms. Marcus pulled out a document written on simple earth paper. These are the terms my government has authorized me to offer. Zarathel read the document, and with each line her amazement grew. The marriage agreement was unlike anything she had ever seen. First, it stated that Zarathel would keep all her royal titles and inheritance rights. She would not become property of Earth or lose her position in her father's empire. Second, Earth offered a military alliance, but only for mutual defense. They would help protect the Vextai Empire if it was attacked, but they would not join in any wars of conquest. Third, and most shocking of all, the agreement included something called a happiness clause. Either party could end the marriage if they were truly unhappy, with no shame or punishment to either side. I do not understand, Zarathel said slowly. What does Earth gain from these terms? You ask for no territory, no resources, no trade advantages. You do not even demand that our marriage be permanent. Marcus smiled. We gain the friendship of your people, and the opportunity to learn from a civilization much older than ours. We hope to build a relationship based on trust and mutual benefit, not on one side taking advantage of the other. But what if I decide I do not want to be married to you? What if I choose to end our union? Then you would be free to do so, and Earth would still honor our friendship with your people. We believe that marriages should exist only as long as both people choose to be together. Zarathel had to sit down. In all her years of meeting suitors, no one had ever suggested that her happiness mattered more than political gain. Why would you agree to such terms? They give you no security, no guarantee of getting what you want. Princess, what we want is for you to be happy. If you are not happy with me, then I have failed as a husband, and you should not have to stay married to someone who fails you. The document continued with more unusual clauses. The marriage would include a trial period where they could live together and get to know each other better before making a final commitment. Marcus would learn Vextai customs and language, while Zarathel would be welcome to visit Earth and learn about human culture. They would make all major decisions together as equal partners. I need to show this to my father, Zarathel said. When Emperor Vextan read the human marriage proposal, he called an emergency meeting of the Royal Council. The council chamber filled with the most important officials in the empire, all talking at once about this unprecedented document. This is madness, declared General Thokvar, the head of the military. They offer no fleet, no weapons, no soldiers. How does this alliance protect us? They ask for no trade advantages, added Minister Yexdal, who managed the empire's commerce. No mining rights, no access to our rare crystals. What kind of species makes such a poor bargain? The happiness clause is completely unacceptable, said High Advisor Kelthar. Royal marriages are about duty, not personal feelings. If every royal could end their marriage whenever they felt unhappy, the entire alliance system would collapse. But as the council debated, news of the human proposal spread throughout the palace and beyond. The reaction was unlike anything anyone had expected. Other royal families across the galaxy began sending urgent messages. Princess Veliana of the Kristark Empire, who had been forced into an unhappy marriage with a Kethani warlord, sent a secret communication asking if Earth might be interested in offering similar terms to other royal families. Prince Zekton of the Rimward Coalition, whose bride had been chosen for him based purely on her father's military strength, requested information about human marriage customs. Even more surprising, non-royal nobles began expressing interest. Lady Silyana of the merchant guilds, who had been rejected by dozens of suitors because of her unusual appearance, sent a formal inquiry about whether humans might consider marriages outside of royal families. It seems, Emperor Vextan told his daughter privately, that your human has started something much larger than a simple marriage proposal. Meanwhile, the powerful species who had sent suitors to court Zarathel were not pleased with these developments. The Kethani War Marshal sent an angry message declaring that human marriage customs showed cosmic weakness and would lead to the downfall of civilization. The Zephyrian Trade Federation calculated that emotional-based marriages were economically inefficient and would disrupt the careful balance of interspecies commerce. Most concerning of all, the hegemony began moving more ships toward Vextai space. Their leader, Supreme Commander Dracol, sent a message that was barely disguised as diplomacy. The hegemony is concerned that the Vextai Empire may be making alliances with unstable and unreliable species. We feel it is our duty to monitor the situation closely. Emperor Vextan understood the threat. The hegemony saw the human proposal as a sign of weakness, and they were preparing to take advantage of what they perceived as a vulnerable moment. My daughter, he said to Zarathel as they stood in his private study, I believe this human truly cares for you, and his proposal is more generous than anything we could have hoped for, but accepting it may put our entire empire at risk. The hegemony is looking for any excuse to attack us, and they see this unusual alliance as a sign that we have become weak. Zarathel looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there, the hegemony fleet was growing larger and moving closer. The choice she made about marriage might determine whether her people lived in peace or died in war. What do you think I should do? She asked. Her father was quiet for a long time. I think you should follow your heart, but be prepared for the consequences. If you choose the human, we may have to fight for the right to make that choice. That night, Zarathel walked alone in the garden where she had spent so many hours talking with Marcus. Tomorrow she would give him her answer. She could choose safety by rejecting his proposal and accepting one of the more traditional suitors, or she could choose hope by accepting Marcus and trusting that their unusual alliance might be strong enough to face whatever challenges lay. Ahead as she stood among the alien flowers, under the light of 3 moons, Princess Zarathel made her decision. For the first time in her life, she would choose what her heart wanted instead of what others expected her to want. The consequences would come tomorrow. Tonight, she would simply be happy that someone in the vast galaxy had finally seen her as more than a political prize to be won. Princess Zarathel accepted Marcus's proposal, but their happiness lasted only 3 days. On the 4th morning, a massive fleet appeared in the space around the Vextai homeworld. Ships from a dozen different species surrounded the planet, their weapons powered but not yet aimed. The Galactic Council had arrived. Emperor Vexitan received the Council's message in his throne room, with Marcus and Zarathel standing beside him. The holographic image of Council Speaker Drathmar, a tall being with gray skin and 4 arms, filled the air above them. Emperor Vextan, the speaker announced, the Galactic Council has received complaints about the unusual marriage proposal offered by the species called humans. Several member species have declared that this proposal threatens the stability of our alliance system. What complaints? Emperor Vextan asked, though his voice suggested he already knew the answer. The Kethani Empire claims that human marriage customs show dangerous weakness. The Zephyrian Trade Federation argues that emotional-based alliances will disrupt economic stability. The hegemony insists that your empire has been compromised by alien influence. Marcus stepped forward. Speaker Drathmar, my people mean no threat to the Galactic Alliance system. We simply wish to form a partnership based on mutual respect. That is what we are here to determine, the speaker replied. The council demands that the human representative undergo the trial of bonds. If he passes, his proposal will be accepted. If he fails, the marriage will be forbidden, and Earth will be banned from making future royal marriage requests. Zarathel felt ice form in her stomach. The trial of bonds was an ancient test that pushed suitors to their absolute limits. Many had tried it over the centuries. Most had failed and some had died. The trial is not required by law, Emperor Vextan protested. My daughter has the right to choose her own husband. Under normal circumstances, yes, Speaker Drathmar said. But when a marriage proposal threatens galactic stability, the Council has the authority to intervene. The trial will begin tomorrow. The hologram disappeared, leaving the throne room in tense silence. You do not have to do this, Zarathel told Marcus urgently. We can find another way. But Marcus was already nodding. No, I'll take the trial. If passing it is what it takes to prove that humans are worthy of trust, then that's what I'll do. The trial of bonds took place on a neutral space station that belonged to the Galactic Council. Representatives from dozens of species came to watch, along with millions more who viewed the proceedings through holographic broadcasts across the galaxy. Marcus stood in the center of a vast chamber, wearing simple clothes and carrying no weapons. Around him, the Council had set up 3 tests designed to reveal his true character. Under extreme pressure, the first test was the trial of greed. Holographic. Projectors created an illusion, so real that Marcus could hardly tell the difference from reality. He found himself standing in a vault filled with more wealth than he had ever imagined. Gold, silver, rare crystals, and precious artifacts from 100 worlds were piled higher than buildings. A figure that looked exactly like Emperor Vextan appeared beside him. Take whatever you want, the false emperor said. Fill your ship with treasure. All I ask in return is that you leave my daughter alone and never return to our world. Marcus looked at the incredible wealth surrounding him. With just a small portion of these riches, he could solve every economic problem on Earth. His people would never want for anything again. But he also thought about Zarathel, sitting alone in her garden, believing that no one would ever care about her for who she truly was. I don't want your treasure, Marcus said to the false emperor. I want your daughter to be happy. You fool, the illusion snarled. You could be the richest human who ever lived. What good is wealth if it comes from betraying someone I care about? The first test ended, and Marcus found himself back in the trial chamber. Around him, the watching aliens murmured in surprise. Most species valued wealth above almost everything else. A suitor who would refuse unlimited riches was almost unheard of. The second test was the trial of fear. This time, the illusion showed Marcus standing on the bridge of a human starship. Through the windows, he could see a massive alien fleet surrounding Earth. The ships were dark and threatening, their weapons aimed at his homeworld. A figure wearing the uniform of a hegemony admiral appeared on the main screen. "Human," the false admiral said. "Your planet has been chosen for destruction, but we are willing to make a deal. Abandon your foolish marriage proposal and convince your people to never interfere in galactic politics again. Do this and we will spare your world." Marcus watched the weapons charging on the alien ships. Earth had almost no military compared to the great galactic powers. If this threat was real, his homeworld would be helpless. But Marcus had studied galactic history. He knew that giving in to threats only led to more threats. If he abandoned Zarathel now to save Earth, the same bullies would just make bigger demands later. "I won't abandon my friends to save myself or my world," Marcus said firmly. "If you want to attack Earth, that's your choice. But you'll do it knowing that humans don't betray the people they care about." The second test ended, and the murmuring around the chamber grew louder. The watching aliens were beginning to realize that humans might think very differently than they had expected. The third test was the most difficult, the trial of sacrifice. Marcus found himself standing in the corridor of a damaged starship that was breaking apart. Emergency lights flashed red and alarms blared throughout the vessel. Through a window he could see Princess Zarathel trapped in one section of the ship. In another section, he could see a group of alien civilians, men, women, and children from several different species of HFY, also trapped and in danger. The ship's computer spoke in a cold, mechanical voice. "Critical system failure. You have time to save only one group before the ship explodes. Choose." Marcus stared at the impossible choice: save the woman he loved or save innocent people he had never met. Either choice would mean watching others die. But as he looked at the situation, Marcus began to think like a human. Humans were problem solvers. They found third options when others saw only two bad choices. He ran to the ship's engineering section and began pulling apart control panels. He had studied starship design during his journey to meet Zarathel. Most ships had emergency systems that could be rerouted in creative ways. Working faster than he ever had in his life, Marcus rewired the ship's power grid. Instead of using the remaining energy to save one section, he redirected it to strengthen the structural integrity of both sections, just long enough for rescue ships to arrive. When the dust settled, everyone was safe. Marcus had refused to accept that anyone had to die. The trial chamber fell completely silent. In the thousands of years that the trial of bonds had existed, no one had ever found a way to pass the trial of sacrifice without choosing who to save. Marcus had done something that the council had thought was impossible. Speaker Drathmar's voice echoed through the chamber. "The human has passed all three trials. More than that, he has shown us new ways of thinking about old problems." But the most important reaction came from Princess Zarathel, who had been using her empathic abilities to sense the emotions of everyone watching the trial. What she felt from the alien observers shocked her. "Marcus," she said when they were alone afterward, "do you know what I sensed from the other species during your trial?" "What did you sense?" "Fear. Not fear of you, but fear of what you represent. They're afraid of humans because you don't think the way they do. When they see a problem with two bad solutions, they accept that one of the bad solutions must be chosen. But humans look for third options that no one else considers." Marcus thought about this. Is that why they wanted me to take the trial? To see if we really think differently? I think so. And now they know that humans can find solutions that other species can't imagine. Some of them see that as a threat to the way things have always been done. The trial was over and Marcus had passed. But both he and Zarathel realized that this was just the beginning. They had proven that humans were worthy of respect. But they had also shown the galaxy something that would change everything. They had shown that there were new ways to solve old problems, new ways to think about cooperation and conflict, and new ways to build relationships based on understanding rather than power. Some species would welcome these new ideas. Others would fight to stop them. The real test was just beginning. The wedding of Princess Zarathel and Captain Marcus Chen became the most watched event in galactic history. Representatives from over 400 worlds came to witness something that had never happened before. A royal marriage based on love rather than political gain. The ceremony itself reflected the new kind of alliance they were creating. Instead of the traditional Vex-tie ritual where the bride was given from one family to another, Zarathel and Marcus exchanged vows as equal partners. They promised to support each other's dreams, to face challenges together, and to build something better than either could create alone. When Marcus spoke his vows in carefully learned Vextai, and Zarathel responded in English she had been studying, the watching crowd fell silent. Many of the aliens present had never seen a marriage ceremony where both partners seemed genuinely happy to be there. "I promise to see you as you truly are," Marcus said, "not as what others expect you to be." "I promise to trust in your honesty," Zarathel replied, "and to share my truth with you." Emperor Vextan, who had initially worried about accepting such an unusual alliance, found himself moved by the obvious love between his daughter and her new husband. For the first time in years, Zarathel looked truly happy. But the real impact of the wedding became clear in the days that followed. The galaxy began to change in ways no one had anticipated. Within a week, Princess Veliana of the Christarch Empire sent an official request to Earth. She wanted to end her unhappy marriage to the Kethani warlord and asked if there might be a human willing to marry her under the same terms Marcus had offered Zarathel. Prince Zekton of the Rimward Coalition did the same thing. His arranged marriage had been based purely on military alliance, and he had never been happy with his wife, who had never been happy with him either. They both wanted to try the human approach of choosing partners based on compatibility and mutual respect. Soon, Earth's diplomatic corps was flooded with requests from royal families across the galaxy. But even more surprising were the messages from non-royal nobles, merchants, scientists, and ordinary citizens who had heard about human marriage customs and wanted to learn more. "It seems," Marcus told Zarathel as they sat in their new home on a space station between Earth and the Vextai homeworld, "that a lot of people in the galaxy are tired of marriages based on politics and profit." "My empathic abilities let me sense something interesting," Zarathel replied. "When I meet with other royal families now, I can feel how many of them are unhappy with their arranged marriages. They stay together because of duty, but there's no real love or even friendship between them." Earth's government realized they had accidentally started a revolution. Humans began training as marriage counselors, relationship advisors, and compatibility experts. They developed new ways to help people from different species understand each other and build healthy relationships. The changes went far beyond marriage. The human approach of looking for third options and win-win solutions began to influence trade negotiations, territorial disputes, and even military conflicts. When the Zephyrian Trade Federation and the merchant guilds got into a bitter argument over shipping routes, they asked human negotiators to help. Instead of forcing one side to win and the other to lose, the humans helped them design a new system where both groups could profit more by working together than by fighting. When two military species began threatening war over a disputed planet, human diplomats suggested something unprecedented: joint colonization where both species could live on the same world and learn from each other. Not everyone welcomed these changes. The hegemony, led by Supreme Commander Drackhole, saw human influence as a direct threat to their power. They had built their empire by conquering others and forcing them to submit. The idea that conflicts could be resolved through cooperation rather than domination was dangerous to everything they believed. "The humans are making our enemies soft," Drackhole declared to his war council. "They spread weakness disguised as wisdom. If we do not stop them, their poison will destroy the natural order of the galaxy." But when the hegemony finally attacked, they discovered something they had not expected. The new alliances that humans had helped create were much stronger than traditional military pacts. When hegemony ships moved against the Vextai Empire, they found themselves facing not just Vextai defenders, but also human ships, Christarch vessels, Rimward Coalition fleets, and even former enemies who had learned to work together. More importantly, the defenders fought differently than the hegemony expected. Instead of trying to destroy the attacking fleet, they used human-inspired tactics focused on disabling ships and capturing crews rather than killing them. "Why do you not finish us?" a captured hegemony officer asked Marcus after his ship was taken intact. "Because we hope that someday you might choose cooperation over conquest," Marcus replied. "Dead enemies stay enemies forever. Living people can change their minds." The war lasted only 6 months. The hegemony discovered that their traditional tactics of fear and intimidation did not work against people who had learned to trust each other and work together. When your enemies refuse to hate you back, it becomes very difficult to justify continued fighting. Supreme Commander Dracul was removed from power by his own people, who were tired of constant war and curious about the peace and prosperity they saw in human-influenced alliances. 5 years after their wedding, Zarathel and Marcus stood on the observation deck of their space station, watching ships from dozens of different worlds docking peacefully in the same harbor. "Do you ever miss the simple days when you were just trying to find someone willing to marry me?" Zarathel asked with a smile. Marcus laughed. "Sometimes. But I like this better. Look at what we've helped create." Through the transparent walls, they could see human teachers working with alien students, mixed species crews working together on research projects, and families that included parents and children from multiple worlds. Their own children, 3-year-old twins with Zarathel's blue skin and Marcus's brown eyes, played nearby with friends from 6 different species. The children switched effortlessly between human languages and alien tongues, growing up in a galaxy where differences were celebrated rather than feared. "I've been thinking," Zarathel said, "about what my empathic abilities taught me during all those failed meetings with suitors." "What did you learn?" "That most people in the galaxy were just as lonely and unhappy as I was. They were trapped by expectations and customs that didn't make them happy. All those suitors who came seeking power and wealth, I think many of them were just doing what they thought they were supposed to do." Marcus nodded. "Humans went through something similar on Earth. We spent thousands of years fighting wars and building empires because we thought that was how civilizations were supposed to work. It took us a long time to learn that there were better ways. And now we're teaching the galaxy the same lesson." "Not teaching," Marcus corrected gently. "Sharing. We don't have all the answers. But we've learned that when different people work together and really listen to each other, they can find solutions that none of them could discover alone." As they watched, a new ship arrived at the station. It was painted with the symbols of 7 different species working together on a deep space exploration mission. In the old galaxy, such cooperation would have been impossible. Now it was becoming normal. "The Council asked me to accept a new position," Marcus said. "Ambassador for Interspecies Relations. They want me to help other species learn the cooperation methods we've developed. Will you accept?" "Only if you'll work with me. Your empathic abilities let you understand people in ways I never could. Together we could help solve problems that neither of us could handle alone." Zarathel smiled and took his hand. "Just like our marriage." Exactly like our marriage. Years later, historians would mark the wedding of Princess Zarathel and Captain Marcus Chen as the beginning of the Great Change, around the period when the galaxy shifted from competition and conquest to cooperation and mutual growth. But for the 2 people who started it all, the real victory was much simpler. They had found each other in a vast and often lonely universe. They had chosen love over fear, hope over cynicism, and partnership over domination, and in doing so, they had shown the entire galaxy that there was a better way to live. In the end, that was the most human thing of all. The stubborn belief that no matter how bad things seemed, there was always a chance to make them better. All it took was the courage to try something new, and the wisdom to work together with others who shared the same dream. The galaxy was vast and full of wonders. But the greatest wonder of all was the simple fact that different people could choose to care about each other, and in caring, create something beautiful that none of them could have built alone.